friends, it's Mrs. Ward, and today we're going to start a new chapter book. And this is another one of my favorite chapter books because it's written by one of my very favorite authors of all time. Her name is Cynthia Rylant. Think about if you know any books by Cynthia Rylant that we've read in second grade. Henry and Mudge is written by Cynthia Rylant. She writes a lot of realistic fiction stories about things in her life. She has a dog like Mudge, and so she wrote a series of books called Henry and Mudge, and she's written lots of other books too, like When the Relatives Came, Dog Heaven, Cat Heaven. So there's a lot of really great books by Cynthia Rylant that I love to read to my second graders. She actually wrote a chapter book that she has put together, and over time she has written one. It's realistic fiction story, and just like realistic fiction that we've talked about in second grade, these are characters that could be real, but they're animals that are talking, and so they're animals that act like people, and it has a problem and a solution that could really happen in real life, and it's called Gooseberry Park. So you might see that there's some of the characters in the story. I see a dog, I see a squirrel, and I see a bat. And you see that Cynthia Rylant is the one that wrote this chapter book. And there's 18 chapters, I believe, so it's going to be a long chapter book. And today we're going to read chapter 1. It's called A New Nest. Let's look at this picture right here. You'll see a statue, and you'll see a dog and a squirrel talking to each other. So they actually talk like people. And a new nest. You see the squirrel. So that's one of the characters. Just like in other fiction stories, at the beginning of the book, you learn a lot about the characters. So let's find out which character we're going to learn about first. A New Nest, Chapter 1. All new mothers have a nesting instinct, even human mothers who haven't any idea how to build a nest. While human mothers are waiting for their babies to be born, their nesting instinct causes them to do the silliest things, such as taking all the pots out of one cabinet and all the pans out of another and switching them. Human mothers don't know why they are doing this, except that some little voice in their head is saying, "Keep busy, keep busy." A sensible rabbit mother who hears this little voice will simply pluck her fur from her teeth with her teeth to make a nice warm baby bed for the near future. But a mixed up human mother will just wander about her kitchen, switching her cabinets for no reason at all. Thus it was a good thing that Stumpy was a squirrel. She knew a nesting instinct when she felt one, and she knew what to do about it. For many days now, every part of her red squirrel body had been shouting, "Keep busy, keep busy." And was she ever keeping busy? For the new nest she was building, she had collected the choicest twigs and the finest leaves, and because she was sure of what was about to happen, bits of the pink-dotted, blue-flowered, or green-starred material that could be had by a little digging in the can behind the town sewing shop. And I'm going to wait for a minute and think to myself and think out loud. They were talking about mothers who are getting ready to have babies having that instinct. Now they're talking about Stumpy, a squirrel, doing the same thing. I wonder if Stumpy the squirrel is going to have babies. And then I heard in the book they were talking about finding pink cloth, blue cloth, or green cloth. Sometimes people do that when they're having babies. They have pink for girls, blue for boys, or green if they don't know what it's going to be. I'm wondering if she might be having some babies. Here's a picture that helps us. She's collecting things from the trash can. So she likes to collect things. One morning she had even happened upon a bit of cloth decorated with pictures of little red squirrels carrying small brown nut sacks, and she nearly fainted away. It was better than she could have hoped for her new babies. And new babies indeed were what she was about to have. Babies to love, to keep clean, to bring close to her fur in the dark night. Stumpy was about to become a mother, and oh, was she proud. Hey, we were right in our prediction. And busy, quite busy. Carefully she lined her new nest with the twigs, the leaves, and the bits of beautiful cloth. She had recently moved from an old locust tree on the south side of Gooseberry Park to a pine oak on the east. She had moved because, like most who live alone, Stumpy had been rather relaxed about her housekeeping, and her old nest had become difficult to move around in. You see, Stumpy was a collector, and her nest was full of treasures. She had tremendous energy, and after she had found as many acorns and pine cones as could be eaten by one little squirrel, she burned up the rest of her energy by collecting. Stumpy collected these things: tabs from soda pop cans, empty yogurt cups, gum wrappers, coins, ice cream sticks, straws, feathers, pretty pebbles, little balls lost by children, nuts, bolts, screws, tacks, twist ties, rubber bands. Her most beautiful treasure of all, though, had been a lovely watch that glowed in the dark. 2 winters ago, she had found it lying on top of a picnic table. She took it to her nest and didn't realize until evening what a marvel it was. As darkness came, the watch began to shine, and Stumpy's nest became bathed in a soft green light. Animals who passed at night were drawn to it. Everyone came to see it, and news spread far and wide of the glow-in-the-dark nest in Gooseberry Park. So here's a picture of her nest. See the watch there? So we learned a lot about Stumpy already. We learned that she's a mother, so she's a girl. She's going to have babies. And we learned that she's a collector of human things like yogurt cups and coins and gum wrappers, and that she was such a big collector that her nest got too full of her treasures and she had to move so she could have more space. I'm noticing the watch in that corner there and all the things that she liked to find. So we learned a lot about her already. Unfortunately, the news spread too far and too wide. Someone came one day and stole that watch from Stumpy's nest. Stumpy never found it again, though for weeks she sat high in her tree at night and looked out over the park, hoping to see that soft green glow. She never did. Still, Stumpy had other treasures, in fact, too many treasures, and her collection had gotten all out of control. Stumpy knew that no self-respecting mother of several young children could have her babies sleeping among wood screws and twist ties, so she found a new tree and built a clean nest and organized her collection to give plenty of room for her babies. Her friend Kona would be proud of her house cleaning. Each time she collected something new, Kona would say to her, "Stump, you've too many things." And she would answer, "Not things, treasures." And Kona would say, "Stump, my owner, Professor Albert, has a chess set crafted in pure silver, a crystal punch bowl. Now that's treasure." Well, what could a Labrador dog know about treasure anyway, thought Stumpy. Kona was a good friend, a fine friend, but he had no imagination. If he had, he'd be living in the park collecting feathers and balls instead of sitting in a boring ranch house with Professor Albert. Stumpy had babies and copper pennies and even the chance of finding another glow-in-the-dark watch to look forward to. She went on carefully, layering her maple leaves and flowered cloth and green twigs into a safe, warm pocket. Her friend Kona might not regard gum wrappers and ice cream sticks as treasure, but Stumpy knew the noble dog would not mistake the priceless value of new life in the tall pine oak tree, the tree that for her would be a harbor in a storm, the tree that her own babies would call home. The end. So not only did we learn about the character Stumpy being a squirrel, we learned another character, her friend Kona. Do you remember what kind of animal Kona is? That's right, Kona is a Labrador dog. And so we learned where Kona lives, not in the park. Kona lives in a house with an owner, Professor Albert. Professor Albert, that name makes me think that he might be a teacher, kind of smart, maybe not really wild and crazy with his ideas, because Kona likes to not use his imagination very much, and it likes to be sensible. So we learned a little bit about Kona's personality too, where Kona lives. We learned about the setting of the story, where Stumpy lives. So Stumpy's in a park, Kona's in a house. I wonder how they met each other. How do they know each other? Do you have a prediction? Do you have an idea? Well, the next chapter is called Night Talk. So we'll have to find out. We might be meeting a new character. Can you think of what animal the new character is? There's a clue in a picture. I also got a clue about what the problem of the story is, because when Stumpy was talking about the nest being a harbor in a storm, that means a safe place in a storm. So I wonder if there might be a storm that's happening and where she needs some help. So we'll have to find out what happens next in Gooseberry Park. Thank you for listening to our first chapter. See you next time.